Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Wallace Thornhill. He, along with David Talbot, is the author of The Electric Universe and Thunderbolts of the Gods. What they are saying is that we need a new paradigm and a new cosmology to understand what's happening in the universe. We don't really understand black holes, we don't really understand the Big Bang, and we don't understand dark matter, because really, they don't exist. What we need to find out from Wal Thornhill is that we live in an electric universe, and that many of our religious beliefs about how, quote, the universe started may be wrong. But there's good news with finding this out, so I've invited him here to talk to us about how science has to change. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Wallace Thornhill to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning to you in Australia. Hello, hello.
Hi there, Kim.
How are you? Pleasure to have you.
I'm fine, thank you.
I want to read one of your quotes that I think really epitomizes what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
You say, from the smallest particle to the largest galactic formation, a web of circuitry and the electric force connects and unifies all of nature, organizing galaxies, energizing stars, giving birth to planets, and on our world, controlling weather and animating biological organisms. There are no isolated islands in space. If that isn't the essence of what you're bringing to us, talk to us about why the Big Bang doesn't exist.
Well, the evidence has been around for decades that the Big Bang is a result of a misinterpretation of Edwin Hubble's work. He was the one who found a relationship between the redshift, that is, the apparent speed of recession of an object, and its faintness. Of course, naturally, you would think that something that's faint is far away. But Edwin Hubble himself said that this is the most unlikely explanation and that it is probably telling us something about the object itself rather than that it's moving away from us very fast. And one of his outstanding pupils, Halton Arp, the astronomer, in producing an atlas of what are called peculiar galaxies, that's galaxies that are shaped oddly, as if they've been disturbed in some way. In doing that, he found that these very faint objects tended to cluster around active galaxies, and that's galaxies that are ejecting material along the axis of their rotation. And the objects are these faint objects are generally called quasars, quasi-stellar objects. And he found, in fact, that the redshifts were more an indication of the youthfulness of these objects. They're faint because they're youthful, they haven't achieved full brightness, and they have a high redshift because there's something going on inside them which is not understood at present by science, but which I've offered some possibilities in answering that problem. The fact that they're faint and they're redshifted is just that they're very youthful. And this gives rise to the idea that galaxies actually give birth to baby galaxies. And in their initial state, they look like quasars.
That's fascinating.
They're quite biological overtones to the galaxy. It's like repeated patterns at all scales.
The Big Bang, this is in the Genesis of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You said something in your DVD at the
Yes.
Nexus conference where you lectured there. You
Mm-hmm.
said, how did nothing all of a sudden create something from nothing? It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Explain that on your terms. I laughed when I heard that. I mean, I'm in love with the Big Bang Theory because it's kind of sexy.
That's right.
You know what I
fact.
mean? I happen to be Jewish, so I was like, right on, But when I heard you talk about it like that, it really made sense. Of course, I lost my innocence because the Big Bang, it didn't make sense to me then. So explain it to the public.
Well, the idea that matter is created at the beginning of the universe in this so-called Big Bang flies in the face of everything we understand about matter, and that is very little. Einstein's famous equation, the one that most people have heard of and can recite but don't understand, E equals mc squared, says that energy is related to the mass of an object and to the speed of light. That means that mass is a function of matter, and its energy is also bound up in the matter, but we still don't know what matter is. Would you believe that in this day and age, we still don't understand why matter has mass. This is why they built that huge Large Hadron Collider.
That scares me, that Hadron Collider. It really scares me that they're playing around with something they shouldn't be playing around with. Am I wrong?
Well, basically, they don't know what they're doing, but I wouldn't be too worried. It's just a total waste of money, really. All that happens
I don't
is
want
when
us all to turn to nothing, Wall.
Well, all of the scares about black holes and so on are based on a misconception of what matter is and how it's related to energy. In fact, it comes back to this Big Bang question. And the answer is that we have no idea how the universe was formed. And I think we should be more, or show more humility when it comes to thinking that, or, as somebody once said, a radio astronomer, a friend of mine once said, how can we in our arrogance assume that in the first microsecond of asking the question, we have the answer to the formation of the universe?
It's pretty wild, isn't it, when you think about it? But it is definitely attractive, isn't it? All of a sudden, there was light. Let there be light.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's a biblical reference transferred into science. The answer, from my point of view, is that we don't know. And Halton Arp's work shows that the universe isn't expanding, that these things that are supposed to be at the end of the universe are actually quite close and actually newly born. So we have to reinterpret the whole idea of what we're looking at. This gives you a completely different picture of the local universe. And it's a very interesting one because you can actually trace the genealogy, the families of galaxies, because if galaxies give birth to baby galaxies and companion galaxies, you can trace them back. So the Milky Way is a member of a family. And
now that sounds very spiritual to me.
Yeah,
actually, the way you describe that sounds very sacred to me.
Yeah. Really, it just comes back to common sense. You don't have to be a mathematician to understand the electric universe. It's based on observation. It's based on electrical engineering principles and experiment. All these things which science is supposed to be based on, not on theoretical mathematics.
You say that we've been operating with a kind of horse and buggy cosmology.
Yes.
Newton's laws of gravity, are they wrong or are they questionable?
No, Newton, mathematics, you see, just describes the behavior of things. It doesn't explain anything. And Newton knew that, and he was clever enough and sensible enough to say that I have no idea why it's so, but this is the formula that seems to work to describe what gravity does, why objects fall to the Earth and why the Moon orbits around the Earth and so on. But when you look at his equation, there is no time involved. And this is something that physicists sort of skate over and don't even recognize it as a problem anymore. But that implies that the force of gravity operates across the universe near instantly at phenomenal speed, far in excess of the speed of light. And there was one astronomer who had the courage to actually do some calculations based on astronomical phenomena and point out that the speed of gravity is at least 2 billion times faster than the speed of light. And this is where I got to this idea that the universe is connected in real time. And this is why everything is connected. You know, we're connected to the universe in real time. And this is almost a spiritual way of looking at things, of looking at life. It also means that we, in some way, the self-referential part of the universe. In other words, what we witness, the universe learns about. So it's learning about itself through us. So why are we here? The answer is to learn, because this is what the universe is all about. It seems to be a feedback system. And this is required for life anyway. I mean, it's been obvious that you can't just have random events to generate life. It has to be a learning experience which is then passed on generation to generation. Otherwise, the whole thing becomes incoherent and falls apart. The same thing occurs to galaxies. I mean, a galaxy could not form those beautiful spirals if we relied on the snail's pace of the speed